my secret, just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
Hello, welcome to This Filipino American Life, a podcast that explores the nuanced experiences of Filipinos in the United States at iba pa. My name is Joe Bernardo, and I'm joined by my fellow hosts,
Elaine Delales,
Ryan Carpio,
Producer Mike.
Yeah.
Had it ready.
Wow, producer. I think that's the first time you said producer Mike.
Yay!
Very good.
I'll own it.
Now I'm impressed.
And the last episode, we talked about being in Vegas. We are still in Vegas, and we talked about the Filipino population here in Nevada. And here are two guests that we would like to introduce to you. It's Tita Rozita Lee.
Yes, hello.
And Tita Gloria Caoile.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Welcome. And these two lovely young women have been politically organizing the Filipino community here in Las Vegas for years.
Decades. Yes.
They were zero.
A couple of them.
So, we wanted to talk about kind of the local organizing here in the Filipino community here in Vegas, and kind of what the lay of the land here is. But first, before we get there, we want to talk about your personal experiences here in Vegas. And how long have you both lived here?
Well, I came in 1979, so that's been a number of years. And I got married. That's the reason why I moved from Hawaii to Las Vegas. And everybody said, why are you moving to Las Vegas, the dry desert, leaving the lush, of Hawaii? Well, because I fell in love. And Dr. Clifford Lee was my husband. He has since passed. And I made my life here and enjoyed every minute of it.
How about you, Tita Gloria?
Well, I'm a transplant. I lived in the East Coast, as a matter of fact, Virginia specifically, for over 4 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're into decades. This really dates us. Rosita, this really dates us.
Right.
But permanently, we moved here 6 years ago. We were seasonal residents for a while. But I think more related to what this is all about is Las Vegas, Nevada was always my town to do civic engagement from where I worked, from D.C. From inside the Beltway to outside the Beltway, Nevada was one of my states.
Where did you work?
I worked for the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. It's a labor union.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice. So you moved here 6 years ago. You moved here 30-something years ago.
Right.
So you've seen a lot of changes here in Las Vegas.
It's been amazing. Yes, I've seen a lot of changes. I've been part of the changes. I worked for one of the civil rights leaders, Dr. Bob Bailey, and I also worked for the governor of the state of Nevada. And then, of course, after that, for the president. Of the United States.
Yeah, we were in the commission, correct?
Yes, I was in the commission.
What was it? What was the name of the commission again? It was
It's the Asian American Pacific Islander Commission.
Nice.
Advisory commission to the president.
Nice.
Under
Obama. Yes, under President Obama.
Yeah, it was started by President Clinton.
Right, and
As a
she
matter
was a
fact,
member of that.
Yeah.
She was a commissioner.
Yeah, but the most important thing there is the woman who really made it happen is a Filipino.
Yes.
It's Tessie Guillermo from California.
You need to interview her
you
too.
know
her?
Yeah, Tessie.
Maybe can you connect us with her?
Yes.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Nice.
And they should also talk to Vita Benavides.
Who is now a transplant.
Right. She lives there too.
She is one of the pioneers of civic engagement from Washington, D.C., was originally from Oakland, and is now a Nevadan.
That's right. Yeah.
People are coming
We
out
attract,
here.
we attract everybody here.
Well, shortly you'll know why. Everybody who's in civic engagement is in Nevada. You'll know why.
Well, no, it's a swing state, first of all.
Yes.
It is a swing state.
Very important state in national politics.
Right.
Yeah, and as we know, the Filipino population skyrocketed over the past few decades. I'm sure you've seen the changes
I've seen
here.
that. I've seen a lot of people from Hawaii come here. That's why
Yeah.
we call Las Vegas actually the ninth island.
Yeah.
Because we have, we have 8 islands, but this is the ninth island because so many of them have moved here. They're still moving here.
Yeah.
And I just got back from Hawaii and I hear more families are coming. So, it's going to be even bigger.
And
One of my favorite things to eat out here is at Baby Stacks. The the adobo
Sure.
omelet.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh! Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Aloha Kitchen has it too.
Yes, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
the OG place. I remember
Yes,
that.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Elena's Kitchen, right? Yeah. The Filipino population here has skyrocketed. Why are they moving here?
Well, for people from Hawaii, the reason they're moving here is because of economics. It's so expensive now. When I go home, I can't believe milk is $8.
$8?
$8. Yes, and bread is like $5 something. So, and I can see where the prophecy that was made by one of my professors. He said, pretty soon they're not going to be islanders living there because it's going to be so expensive, and you'll see primarily investors or people from other parts of the world. And I saw it.
Yeah.
When I was home, I saw that and I was appalled by it, really.
But if you see the landscape now, it's not so much that it was the prophecy, but I think economics and necessity brings folks here, specifically for Filipino Americans. If you look at the landscape here, we're in every place. I mean, everything that works here in Nevada. We're in the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
We're in business. We're we make
In hospitality.
yes,
in
hospitality.
entertainment.
We make Nevada work. We
Yeah.
make Nevada rock. Okay?
Yeah.
And for example, in Henderson, if you look at Henderson right now, the change just in the Filipino restaurants, it's kind of crazy, but that's my gauge all the time. Why would Seafood City open a big entity right in the heart of Henderson, right where there's Island Pacific, where there's Fiesta, where there's, and they are all thriving. And the reason Rozita and I know this place is very well is because we also use it as a civic engagement for voter registration.
engage.
We park ourselves right there and we say, okay, guys, now register and vote.
Yeah.
So.
How do you engage those kinds of Filipino Americans? Because in my experience, there seems to be like a lot of apathy towards towards engagement, or like in my family, like the Filipinos, they feel like they've gotten like burned by the government or something. So they're like, I'm not going to vote anymore. And I remember like in the previous election, my dad didn't want to vote, period. And I told my dad, you have to vote. Like, I don't care. I mean, I did care what he was voting on. I'm not going to lie.
I know.
I did care what he was voting on, but Mike was working on a local campaign for our county. And I said, look, you don't have to, if you don't vote on the presidential election, whatnot, I was like, we're in California. I don't care. I already know where the outcome's going to be. But can you please just vote on Mike's on bill, because we need that to happen because it's part of his job. And my dad was like, oh, okay. So that was my way of swaying it. But I had other family that was like, we're not voting this year.
But you're absolutely right in mentioning apathy. But Rozita and I have been at this for really a couple of decades.
Yes.
Since 2000 at least.
At least.
We're at the forefront.
And it was actually one of the reasons while I was still engaged at APSME, we got to pick the states where we would be sent. And I picked Nevada. And of course, the mindset was, oh, you want the fun and the sun. And, I said, no. I said, because I know for a fact that the Asian Pacific Americans, especially the Filipino Americans, are the largest in that state, and they need to be engaged.
Yes.
I said, and if you don't engage folks who look like you, talk like you, speak like you, act like you sometimes, I said, you're never going to get anywhere. So it was really our start of really engaging. And, I understand what you're saying about apathy, and maybe what we needed to change was the mindset of folks, especially the elders coming over here saying, oh, what's the use? It's mixed. It's cooked anyway. I mean, it's a done deal. My one vote won't count. And, our struggle is to let them understand that your one vote and your one vote, and your one vote, and your one vote is 10 votes.
Yeah.
So that's 10 votes. Elections have been won by 5 votes.
Yeah.
So
Less,
if you really care about how long you're going to stay here and how good your life is going to be here
Yeah.
and what's going to happen to your children, you better vote. You better vote
So
right.
happy when
Yeah.
you recorded everything you just said. I'm gonna play that for my
Very,
mom
very
and my dad and all my titas and titos.
Right.
Like, here, this is why. Go vote now.
But
Yeah, it
the
is.
best part about all this in our engagement, Rozita and I, as we go along, we get to also learn. It is the millennials. It is also
Yeah.
the young folks. It's
Yeah.
the university kids, really.
Yeah.
That we have been able to tap and engage. And they're the ones who have really also gone home to their parents to say, okay, mom, dad, this thing about not caring is not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
If you want me to have my scholarship
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It
next
affects
year,
them.
we better do something. If you want Lola to have health care, we better
Yeah.
get participatory in this system. Otherwise, we're always going to be in the sidelines. You will always have 3 jobs because you have to have ends meet. Because one is to pay the insurance, one is to pay for my schooling, and one is for us to eat. So
Yeah.
I said, how about if you be participatory in civic engagement and elect the folks who are going to care about us.
Yeah,
So then you can have one job and we can all have a good time as well.
Yes.
Be family.
That is so
Yeah,
true.
claps,
You
claps,
know, when-
claps, 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 applause,
when-
applause.
At any time, whenever you hit the pocketbook, no matter what
Yeah.
the issue is, that's when you get the attention.
Yeah.
And what Gloria just said is true, you know, especially with healthcare.
Yeah.
And here in Nevada, we are in every aspect of the economy, you know, and people know that if the nurses decided to go on strike, there'd be nobody there to care for, you know. So they're aware of that. Now the thing is, we need to educate. We really need to educate our people because recently we were, you know, Seafood City has been very, very good at letting us, you know, use their lobby there to do voter registration. So many of them say, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And so we have people now saying, well, you know what? You're going to go shopping. Let me go shopping. Let me push your wagon for you. And so as we push the wagon for them, we fill in the form very quickly. We tell them it's only, you know, 1 minute. And of course, we have to sign at the bottom that we have helped them. But that's the only way that we can do it. And also we help them out of the door and they say, oh, you know, I have to hurry. Okay. Can we help you put your your groceries in your
in the
car?
car.
Yeah.
So we're
I mean,
standing
it's
there
crazy.
doing all of these
it's
things.
really crazy that what we have to do. Because, for example, as Rozita was saying, some of them say, when we come out, we'll help
Yeah,
you. So
but they
because
run away.
we are allowed to be at the door. We are to set our table. So people, we try to get them going in, and they say, no, after we come out. And, you know, we don't there's only one door in and out.
You're right.
So we wait for you. And even though you try to ignore us, you know, we've been creative. So we tell our folks, don't sit at the table, get your pad and meet them.
Right.
And say,
Yeah.
okay, you said when you come out now, you know.
Exactly.
But it's crazy, you know. But then because we do it often and we also engage the youth in issues that affect us, it's changed the mindset a little bit of folks. And we've been just vigilant about making them, getting them engaged, and we've just been vigilant about also getting the issues, at their table, that it becomes a conversational piece. One of the best use of really instructing our folks, we've engaged our press. You know, Asian Journal, for example, has been so participatory in civic engagement. And we don't tell folks who to vote for. We just want you to
Be engaged.
register, engage, and be counted, and have a voice. You know.
Yeah, and of course we have other Asian papers here, and we work with the Chinese as well as the Vietnamese, and they're. One thing I noticed that whenever we have an event and we can serve food, they will come. So
Of course.
that is good because then they're there to listen. And we bring in. One time we brought in the the person in charge of election department here in Nevada, and Mr. Gloria, and he was able to talk to them and answer all the questions that they had. And many of our people don't understand the process of voting and what happens. And so during these educational times, it's important that we do that. And also, like when the Asian Journal is so willing, so in the very near future, there's going to be an article about what do we do as Filipinos. If we are number one here in population, why aren't we doing more things? Why aren't we being recognized?
Or why don't we have elected Filipino Americans?
And
Where's the
that's it.
representation?
We need representation.
Yeah.
We definitely do.
Yeah.
So I know Las Vegas plays an important role in national politics. A lot of people
yeah.
come here, just during national elections,
Ryan
and
came here.
Ryan came
Yeah.
Here
here.
a lot to campaign.
Yeah,
We're
and
out
then
in the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then other places like Virginia and Florida are becoming swing states and important
Yes.
important places where Filipino American votes are important. But I wanted to ask you about local politics here in Las Vegas. What are some of the local issues that Filipinos in Las Vegas deal with from day to day?
Oh my goodness. On a daily basis. Well, we have the drug problem. We have a big drug problem. So we talk to our legislators about that. And we have also education. Education is really, really bad.
Because it's really underfunded here in Vegas.
And it's underfunded. We have hired teachers from the Philippines, which is a good thing. We hired 100. Now we're going to hire another 100. Another 100's coming.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I will say this: we have to speak up. We really, and I tell everybody, speak up. And so, Senator Tick Segerbloom was able to pass a bill. He authored a bill, and it passed that they're going to include in the curriculum more information about our Asian American and Pacific Islanders,
That's
and
awesome.
specifically about
Bravo.
the Filipino World War II veterans.
Thank
because
you.
students don't know, people
Yeah.
don't know how hard they fought.
Yeah.
And so he championed that bill, and I was so happy. And so we're going to work in getting that into the curriculum. But education was really bad. That's an issue.
And healthcare issues are really a local daily issue. It's a national issue, but
Yeah.
more important also in Nevada is housing. We have a lot of folks, we have a lot of our kababayans really that fall on hard times, but they are ashamed to use the benefits of the housing, HUD.
HUD provides.
When something happens, you can ask for assistance. I was in a setting one time where I looked around, and I was the only Asian person that was there to find out the benefits and information. And the Hispanic woman came to me and says, "Oh my gosh," she says, "I'm glad you're here." He says, "We've been wondering why the Asian Pacific American community is never represented, specifically the Filipino American community, because you're the largest." And I just listened, and I didn't want to say, "Well, because we're too embarrassed, because we don't want anybody to know, we don't want anybody to talk about us, that we gosh, her house got foreclosed, or his house, But education has always been part of what Rozita and I have been working on, is to let them, it's not embarrassing. Things happen. You lost your job, and so you fell on hard times, but you paid into this benefit. It's use
For
it.
you.
It's for you. It's for you. And that's part of the education process that we're so vigilant about. I have to share something with you about non-engagement. One year, Rozita and I wanted to just figure out informally, because when I ask you directly, why don't you vote? You never get a straight answer.
Yeah.
Okay, because you don't want to say. So we had a setting where we invited folks, millennials, just newly registered. newly to be registered. 18-year-olds. The middle age, the seniors, and the retirees, and we put them all in a room. And the one commonality, and they didn't know they had this, was they were all non-registered voters.
Wow.
And so we would ask right away. There was no way for them. Finally, of course, when we started, we say, well, if you're wondering why you're all here, it's because we're wondering why you are not registered voters. And nobody could say, oh, I am. But because we knew they were not.
Oh my God.
So we went around.
You can't game us.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah. We went around the room and said, how come you're not registered? Well, I came here as a tourist, and my status changed, and I didn't think I was going to stay that long, and and Rozita says,
How long?
well, how long have you lived here? 9 years. Oh, do you think, I said, you're here permanently? I said, do you think you're now going to think about registering to vote? And then when we asked a young person, why are you not registered? Because my parents are not.
Wow.
And it's not a thing to do with the house,
Interesting.
Yeah. And then the senior, I said, why are you not registered? Well, because nobody's taking me to the voter
They need
registration place. I need
But
transportation.
you would have, or they would have.
They would have, they said, because, it's something to do.
Yeah.
Because the older folks. And so, can you imagine that was the only...
The barriers are so small.
Yes,
to registering.
exactly.
Joe and I have driven people to voting places
Yeah.
in the past.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did. We finally had that flying vans that picked
Yeah.
up people.
Yeah.
Oh my, that was something. That was fun.
Yeah.
We did so many different things, and now I've noticed that many people. Because I'm very much involved in the faith-based, and I'm finding now a different avenue, a different set of people who will come now to the church, and they explain, what their situation is, and I think they go more to the churches than they would to another social or
That makes
agency,
sense. Yeah.
right? And so we're able to help them more, and
Are
we're
they
able to help
open
them.
to that since you're going to them at their church? Are they open to to navigate that? Because you're right.
Yeah.
Some people are uncomfortable going
Right.
to a government agency,
Yeah,
but
they
they'll go
are.
to their pastor
Yeah,
to
they
ask
will.
for the help.
Because we've helped them to do that. And we've explained to them, like what Gloria just said, they've put into the system.
Yeah.
They've been paying
You
in
pay
every year.
taxes.
They pay taxes. And so they need to avail of the
Yes.
help when they need the help.
Absolutely.
And so we have a coalition, faith-based coalition of churches. And so now we're getting engaged. We're part of the mayor's coalition. And so we're getting them knowledge. We're giving them knowledge, understanding, and wisdom as to how to use the system. And there are some, we all know that there are some people that spoil it for everybody
Yeah.
because they use, quote unquote, the
They
system.
game it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
game it.
They
They
game
game
it.
it. I like your term. They
Yeah.
game it. And
game
so,
it.
other people feel, I don't want to be like that. And
I don't want them
be
to think
known.
I'm like them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
And so we tell them, no, your situation is completely different.
Yeah.
We will be there. We'll help to walk you through the process.
And there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot. Sometimes when we first ask, why are you not a registered voter? Well, I don't want to serve in
Jury duty.
Jury duty. I don't want to.
That's always the one.
Sorry, you're going to serve anyway.
I know.
Like you have a driver's license.
It doesn't say that. So that's part of the education
Right.
process.
Yeah.
So through the years, what we've learned is in any gathering or any setting that's a civic engagement, it's just it takes us to say, okay, we know some of you are concerned about one, A, B, C, D, E. But I said, the overall picture is look at your economic status, look at your living conditions, look at your children's conditions, look at your health conditions, look at, what's around you. We've got so much at stake. And if we are going to be, if we say that we're the largest, Asian minority group in the state, we've got to have something to show for it.
Yeah.
And, just numbers and just saying, oh, we're in the healthcare, or we're, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Even though it's important, as Rozita mentioned much earlier here, it's really critical. I mean, we've got so much to offer. We've got, and we can wield our children's future.
Yes.
Really.
Exactly.
So do you do this through like a nonprofit organization, or is it of your own accord?
No, well, now, it's through the nonprofit. But initially, when I got involved with Tita Gloria was way back in 2000, was through APALA, and Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance. And it was through that I really fully got engaged. I mean, talk about somebody who's going to pull you.
Yeah.
Tita Gloria will do
I mean,
that.
Tita Gloria, I want to go to
already here.
Seafood
I'm
City
already
right
been
now.
pulled
I want to go follow people in their cars and be like, oh.
Yes. And she has been an inspiration to me and to many people, and we're grateful for that. And now I think with more and more people coming into Las Vegas, they come from different backgrounds, and we want to hear about them. So, it's time for us to meet them.
Yeah.
And so I am happy being at Seafood City because I can talk to people, on a one-on-one basis. And then, of course, there's Island we have to mention
Island
too.
Pacific.
Pacific. In all fairness, because they've been very good about allowing us to be there.
Oh, go.
Did you help in organize Filipinos through the education of the subprime mortgage kind of scandal that happened in Las Vegas? I know that that hit hard here in Vegas. I was wondering.
That was like in 2006, right?
It was really bad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Scams and what happened. And that's still going on, by the way. Because I just found out that somebody was, I'm going to, I really need help. I'm going to get the help. And so we asked, well, what is this help that you're getting? And it turned out to be a scam. So they're out there. So we just have to protect our people through education.
But that's a good question because though it did not impact our community, our specific community, the Filipino American community, really in large numbers. It was really mostly the Hispanic community
out here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, out here in Las Vegas, and I was just privy to a little bit because when it happened, we really heard things about folks having to leave their homes because of the situation, and that these folks were so disgruntled and so full of hate that they would actually ruin their homes before they leave, and so nobody else would even want it.
Them.
So I wanted to see it, and I have a friend who happens to be a realtor, so I said, "Can I do a couple of?" I mean, people were literally would take the cabinets off. People would put cement in the toilets so it would clog, and that people
really
will pull out the electrical wirings because they just were so mad, and there are folks in our community who were affected. One thing that's maybe good is the situation is not good, but the fail safe for us is. We all have relatives, and we all have. Our family base is so large. I mean, you call me tita. I know more your tita than the man in the moon. But you, out of respect, and the longer I see you, the more I adopt you.
Yeah.
It's that mindset. So other communities have helped others. So you felt like, okay, well, I'm okay. I'm like, okay, so I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. But sometimes that doesn't work because we had a situation too with the teachers where the recruiter did a bad thing with them about how
you talk about the Filipino teachers?
Filipino teachers.
Okay.
But this community rose to the occasion and took them all in, But then sometimes...
Oh, I think I remember hearing about that. They were like recruiting the teachers and then they came and then they weren't paying the wage right or
they
something.
They weren't housed
There
properly.
wasn't,
I mean, they made them get here and then they were stranded at the airport.
Yeah.
I mean, 12 hours waiting. The security finally called Rozita and said, you've got some folks who are here at the airport. What are you going to do?
So at the airport, if there are lost Filipinos, they know to call you?
Well, yeah. Sometimes they try to research. They research. Okay, what's happening here? So it makes you proud, but then
Yeah,
it
they run
makes you
Vegas.
proud, but it makes you scared too. Like, why are you calling me? I don't know them.
So
we get those calls.
are there potential candidates for more Filipino American elected officials here in Nevada?
Yeah, there's
Or
one
Vegas?
right now.
Yeah.
There is one for this current. She's running for the assessor's office.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's Mindy
Lloyd.
Lloyd.
Yeah.
And so we all. This is one thing I will say, that this is a nonpartisan position that she's running for, which is a good thing. But again, I don't know what it is about us Filipinos, but they say, oh, well, she's Republican or she's Democrat and I don't want to be involved. But they don't realize the power that they will give the Filipino community by voting for her. And she is fully qualified, We're not by the way, we don't vote for people who are not qualified. That you must realize that. Because there are some people who will run for office that definitely are not qualified.
Yeah.
But we have discernment, and some people say, oh, what happened? This person was a Filipino and you didn't, vote for him. But we tell them that we are intelligent and that, we know our people well enough that we don't think that we will get the support and, the right kind of support from that person.
Okay. So we have to wrap up soon.
Okay.
But this is kind of my last question for both of you.
Oh, no.
What keeps you both going to do this work?
Well, you go first.
My father and mother always taught me. I was raised to empower others, to always help others, to give. I was raised in a home that I have 4 sisters. We all talked at the same time. And my father would always say, do you understand? Do you hear each other? And, we would all say, yes, Dad, don't worry about it. But that mindset and that upbringing always taught us that giving voice to others is the number one most important thing that you can have. Nobody can take away your voice. But if you don't use it, you took it away. Yeah. So, I'm really passionate.
So deep.
I am really, really passionate about empowering our community because, and like Rozita said, which is, sometimes you have to remind, we are intelligent people. We are heart warming people. We are great people. We are creative. We are very creative. We can make a difference. We can change, and we shouldn't be always thinking that we only serve the table. We got to sit at the table and make policies where the table, where the policies are made at the table.
Correct.
So
correct.
that is my passion is just to empower our community.
Here. No complacency. Here.
And I have a granddaughter now, and I don't want her to have any lip from anybody.
I'm glad that Gloria mentioned granddaughter, because whenever I give a speech, I always mention that I do a lot of this for my children, for my grandchildren, and now for my great-grandchildren. And it was my father. I grew up in the plantation in Lahaina, Maui. And my father was, he came from a small town, San Manuel, Pangasinan, and with his 2 brothers. And they had to make it when they came here. But my father was a spokesperson. He was not afraid to speak up. And so whenever there were some issues from from the camp, the village, he would be the one to speak to the Lunas, the bosses. And then pretty soon, he was working out in the fields, earning $1 a day. And then pretty soon, because of his vocalness, then he got to work for the office. And then he became the camp boss. And so he was able to relate what was happening in the villages to the people that needed to know about this. The same thing that I was doing with President Obama, putting the ear to the ground and then giving the information. And so I learned from that. And then I have sisters who are very vocal. They win oratory contests and what have you. And, but then I've always been involved. I've always been involved in school. No matter what, I tell people, if you want something to happen, you've got to make it happen. You've got to participate. And so throughout the years, I've just kept at it. I've never stopped. And I'm still doing it. Now, of course, I'm so very happy that I'm doing it for the Lord. And concentrated. Before it was with the city, with everybody else, but now I'm concentrating on his work. And so this love for other people. And that's what I have. I just love seeing a smile. I love seeing the possibilities. I love seeing the possibilities in people and in our community. The possibilities are so great, and they don't see it. They're so beautiful. They're talented. And I tell them, we're not just singers. We're inventors. We're out there in the field. Hollywood loves our Filipino work that is being done. Scientists, NASA. We have so many people involved in that. We're amazing. The Filipinos are amazing, and I like to feel that we are a chosen people. I really do. And that's why I keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell folks, you know, be loud, be proud, but be sure you know what you're proud and loud
Yes,
about.
definitely.
Don't just do it just to be
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah, exactly,
Walang
exactly.
makagawa lang.
Yeah, exactly. Makasali lang.
Makasali lang. No saling cut.
Well, thank you so much for
was
taking
great.
your time to talk with
for
us, and
being
we appreciate you so much and all the work that you've done to pave the way for all of us.
Thank you.
And we
Thank
want you back because,
Yes.
like you said, Nevada, starting this year, we're really going to shake some trees. And then we're on to 2020. Yeah.
Right on.
All right.
Right.
Yes.
And on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Hey guys,
Hey.
Yay.
Yep.
what was your experience in grad school?
I didn't go to grad school.
Good job, Ryan.
Thanks.
You're smarter than all of us.
I'm a grad school student of the streets.
Yeah. Grad school was hard for me. What about you, Joe and Mike?
It was very hard. I went to school for a long time. 2 years of master's and 6.5 years of my PhD program.
Yeah, I didn't do that, but yeah.
I really wish I had something to guide me throughout my time in grad school.
Oh, but there is.
What?
Now there is.
What?
What?
It's called Doctora Designs.
Doctora Designs?
Yes, it's a jewelry line that celebrates the academic achievements of all of us.
That sounds awesome.
Even me?
Yes, even you. You don't have to go to grad school for it.
Tell me more.
So Doctora Designs was started by Dr. Angela Chen, a former undocumented student herself, to inspire and empower those who identify as a person of color, immigrant, women, or any folks that are handling life on various intersectional margins.
Cool.
Yeah, so whether you're a student or know someone who is in school, Doctora Designs is the jewelry line everyone in education should get. These tokens of support, encouragement, and achievement go a long way in one's academic career. So graduation season is coming, as well as Mother's Day. So honor the scholars among your family and friends with jewelry that celebrates their achievements. Make a statement, inspire yourself and others with jewelry from Doctora Designs.
Go to doctoradesigns.com. You can get bracelets, you can get necklaces. They say stuff like Doctora, blessed, I love you, mama, best mom ever, perfect for Mother's Day or graduation time. It's all there. doctoradesigns.com.
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 Ditto.
Not for Ryan.
We are still continuing our run of Las Vegas interviews. I don't know why I said it that way. Sorry, guys.
We're in what studio?
We are in For No Good Reason podcast studio.
FNGR studio. Thank you again to
FNGR
them
studio.
for
Thank you,
letting us do this.
FNGR, based out of Emergency Arts in downtown Las Vegas.
Right on.
Yes, and we have our lovely guest today. It is a friend from college, so yay. Her name is Tessa Winkelman. Hello, Tessa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes.
It's nice to see familiar faces in the desert.
And Tessa is here because I thought that she's super interesting and cool because
I don't know.
she, like Joe, has a PhD. And she, unlike Joe, decided to go
using it.
in academia. And most people think of Las Vegas and they think the Strip and they think like hospitality and hotels and all that type of stuff. And I wanted to know, just from your perspective, like what is it like being faculty out in this place where everyone thinks that you're gonna go to Tao or Marquee or whatever one of those unts clubs.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's funny because when I saw the job call, I was like, that would be perfect. Because I grew up in Southern California and we came out to Las Vegas a lot. My mom was really into like watching the sporting events and stuff. So she was here for like the Holyfield biting
Oh, wow.
thing, or the Tyson. Yeah,
Your
that
mom
one.
would be best friends with Joe.
So we were here as kids, like hanging out at the casinos all the time, and it's so close to where I'm from originally. So I was like, that's perfect. The job is perfect.
Yeah.
The call for, it's what I do in terms of U.S. foreign relations, U.S. and the Asia Pacific world. And, you don't have to go to the Strip.
Exactly. We are not on the show.
The school is like minutes from the Strip, and like we even take some of our our invited kind of guests to the Hard Rock for drinks and stuff after their lectures.
Nice.
Because it's within walking distance.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's within walking distance of campus, and but it's like any other kind of urban university, except it's in a city that people don't associate with having a university. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been great so far, and I really like it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there are a lot of great students, a lot of great faculty. Yeah.
How long have you been teaching there?
I've been here this is the end of my third year teaching.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So are you still junior faculty, or are you getting out of that? Like, how does
I'm still junior faculty. So how it works is that in your 6th year, you go up for tenure. You have to have, whatever the requirements of your school are. So if that's a certain number of articles plus your book in publication or in the process of being published. And then if you meet those requirements, then you get tenure and you get to stay. So cross your fingers.
Oh, wow.
What classes do you teach here?
I teach the U.S. Foreign Relations series. So the early half, the early Republic to World War I, and then the second half is World War I to the present. And I also teach Asian American Studies, the kind of Asian American History and Immigration course, as well as introductory gender and women's studies courses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So I know a lot of your research is on like Asian Pacific and American Empire in Asia. Do you ever integrate that within some of your teaching here? And how do you, I guess, personalize it for people who are usually maybe from Vegas or something? So how do you personalize American Empire in kind of people's experiences, lived experiences in Las Vegas?
Yeah, it's interesting how often you get a class where nobody says anything, but then a student will come up to you at the end of class and be like, I'm actually from Guam or the Philippines or from the place you were just talking about in lecture. Or, my cousin is a mail order bride like we were just discussing. Right. So a lot of the issues totally resonate for the population because we have so many students from underrepresented backgrounds. So the school is, we have all these designations from the Department of Education, like Hispanic Serving Institution, Minority Serving Institution, and also ANAPISI, which is Asian American, Native American, and Pacific Islander Serving Institution. And like the demographics of Clark County, where Filipinos are the largest Asian ethnic group.
Yeah.
That's also reflected on campus.
Oh.
Right? So we have a lot of Filipino students. And even, in my foreign relations class, we just got done talking about the Spanish-American War and the Filipino-American War. And students had never,
They didn't know about it?
Then a lot of them had never learned anything about it.
We all haven't until we took an ethnic studies class.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I didn't learn anything about the Philippines until I was in grad school. And the Filipino students in my class, who I have a handful of, were like, I'm Filipino and I never learned anything about this. Right. But when they do, you do get a sense that it resonates with them on a level that's different. One student brought me a textbook of his parents that they had from when they still lived in the Philippines. It was a textbook, like a college textbook from the 80s.
Whoa.
And they're like, I just found this. It was my parents' textbook from the 80s from the Philippines. and I don't know, maybe you would like think some of it is interesting in terms of how they represent U.S. Philippines relations. And I actually, I brought it to class and I was like, let's look at how they represent U.S. Philippines relations, right? And is, in this very kind of positivist light, even though they have this section that talks about the Filipino American War, when they talk about the U.S. colonial period, it was like, oh, the U.S. gave us democracy and brought us into modernity.
They saved us from what?
Yeah, and I was like, so this is not just a gap in how we teach here in the U.S., but there's also this kind of, this textbook is from the 80s, so it's obviously a primary document, but I wouldn't be surprised that those are some of the same sentiments that are in textbooks in the Philippines now. Right? Yeah. So, and speaking to your point about how to relate it to Vegas life, there's a lot of ways in which being in Vegas allows us as scholars who study Asia Pacific to make connections to the Asia Pacific region, right? Because of the ways in which immigration is being drawn in here, right? We have a lot of people that come to retire, a lot of Filipinos come to retire, a lot of people from Hawaii that live and travel here, so much so that a lot of casinos actively cater to those populations. Right. And I was thinking it would be great for an Asian American studies class to like bring my class to the California and be like, let's look at all the ways in which they're catering to like Hawaiians coming to
There's
here,
nothing
right?
California in the California casinos.
I've never been there. I want to go.
Yeah, the Cal.
Yeah, I would like to go. I haven't gone.
Isn't it like Hawaiian themed, right?
It's Hawaiian themed?
They cater towards Hawaii.
Yeah.
And they have oxtail soup from 12 to 5. That's what Joe says.
Yeah. And they serve all the kind of like Hawaiian lunch plates.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
California casino.
How? Oh,
I don't think I can bring students. Like some of them are 21, so they probably aren't allowed to
They can eat there at least. They can eat there.
Yeah.
I remember because Camille Velasco did a concert there once, and I was like, "Oh my, Camille Velasco!" Sorry, American Idol throwback.
Ryan had a crush on her.
I did.
It's really embarrassing.
I totally did.
So you said you have a handful of Filipino American students at UNLV. What's the student population there? Filipino American student population.
I'm not sure that Filipino ethnic group specifically, but for Asian Americans, it's around like between 15 and 20%.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it's large.
Yeah.
Right. And of the Asian population on campus, most of those are Filipino. So yeah, there's a good amount.
Is
of
it a
Filipino
commuter
students.
school? Or like, are those Filipino Americans folks who like live and grew up in this area?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it is a commuter school. There's not too much on-campus housing, right? So I think by the second year of college, there's less than 10% of students that live on campus. So I think it makes it hard for a lot of students to kind of connect in terms of like, how
Like engage in some type of community?
yeah, how student life is more developed on some campuses because there are like requirements for on-campus housing and et cetera, right? It's less of a commuter school and more of like a university town, but this isn't a university town.
Yeah.
So, and as much as, there's a lot of students that are Filipino, but I don't know the extent to which they're able to really connect with each other.
I know there's the Filipino American Student Association, FASA.
Yeah,
At
it's
UNLV, but
from what I know, this year it's kind of largely defunct.
oh wow!
I mean, in that they don't have regular meetings. So I'm trying to.
There's like ebb and
group
flow
of us
with
are
that,
trying to,
I feel like, at
Yeah.
UNLV.
Yeah.
Because I remember in undergrad, they came out to friendship games.
yeah.
The UNLV school, and I was like, "Oh, cool!
That's cool.
And what is friendship games?
Oh, friendship games is this thing that
ask this all
happens
the time.
annually at Cal State Fullerton, where Filipinos in college come to hit on each other. Play dumb, stupid games.
Is that what it is? I never went to it, but
Joe went
I
last
always
year.
heard about it.
No, it's not.
I didn't go
hit
till
on-
after college, so
It's like literally you play
Just
games,
kidding, Joe,
and it's the
sorry.
whole concept is that you engage in friendship with each other.
Oh, I thought it had some kind of philanthropy behind it.
Oh no.
No,
It's just games.
it's
I
literally
mean,
games.
they might donate
Yeah.
proceeds to maybe like a worthy cause, but you know,
I just
I'm not
remember
sure.
like there's literally a game where you have to pass a bucket of water above your head from like the front to the back or back to the front, and the whole purpose is to get girls in wet t-shirts.
Oh,
So that is the type of experience that happens at friendship games.
I don't know anything about that one.
What?
Well, I didn't go there to hit on anybody. Really, I didn't go there to look at like women. I went there because I was like,
it's
okay.
okay. Filipino American gathering.
exactly.
Yeah.
I went there to
you know what's
engage
funny?
with fellow
I told,
Filipino
I'm looking
American.
at Joe right
You
now, and I'm
know
like, you're
I am.
absolutely right.
I didn't think about
don't-
that.
Yeah. I actually believe Joe.
How do you organize all these college students to be more active in their communities? That was my thing.
Games.
Friendship games.
So,
Friendship.
so going back to students and UNLV, what tends to be their major? I know it's a lot. It's in hospitality, but
yeah, hospitality is like the biggest college on campus, I think. And I think one of the, in terms of nation ranks, it's one of the highest
the highest
also.
schools,
Yeah. So we don't, history majors tend to be, our majors that we get in history tend to be predominantly white students, which is a thing a lot of traditional departments have, I think.
And male,
English,
right?
Soc, history, all these kind of traditional departments. So I don't know. I imagine that the students are kind of spread across the disciplines, and students that I've had have been in nursing, hospitality, kinesiology, business.
Are they taking your classes to fulfill like at UCLA it's called GE requirements, at Irvine it's called breath. Like is that like,
So a lot of my students take my intro gender class to fulfill it fulfills 2 humanities requirements. My upper level foreign relations class is mostly history and poli-sci students.
interesting.
So as a foreign relations class, it tends to get a lot more guy students. And white students, I feel like, right? Because that's our majors in history.
there's
And
that whole
then-
like hyper masculine.
yeah, the idea that foreign relations is about the military and diplomacy
Yeah.
and presidents talking to each other. And of course, the way I teach it is about gender and race and empire. So I'm like, lucky you, you're going to get a different side of the story. But yeah, it's interesting.
What was your path to like? How did you know that this was what you wanted to do when you were in undergrad? Were you a McNair scholar or anything like that?
No.
Oh, so you were just like, I'm going to go to
It's
grad
just
school
like
and
a
be an historian?
convoluted
I'm always curious because Joe, like I know Joe's path. Like he went to SF State for Asian Am studies, and then that led to going to
Yeah,
UW.
I was at SF State for ethnic studies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like, what years was that?
I was there 01 to 03.
I was there after you.
Oh, nice.
So I was there probably like 06 to 08.
Yeah, I went to, I did the MA program there.
Yeah.
Look
Very
at that
Yeah.
connection.
So yeah, I wasn't even, I didn't major in history until the PhD program.
Oh,
In undergrad, I was in English and political science. And then I did the master's in ethnic studies at State.
see, this is just proof, kids. Like folks in college listening to this, your major and bachelor's has nothing to do with your future sometimes. Because it usually doesn't play. I mean, I was an Asian Am Studies and Film Studies major, and now I'm a grad counselor at UCLA. So go
I had
figure.
a major in major problems. And minor in difficulty.
major pain.
Major pain.
Was your minor in girls?
Difficulties.
Difficulties, aka girls.
No. But now I'm in the podcast.
You're majoring in podcast studies.
Which, I mean, I'm sure is big in media studies departments right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how have you adjusted to life in Las Vegas?
For me, I don't think it was as hard of a transition because I was familiar with the region, familiar with the city, and actually excited to work with the student population that's here, right? It is so different from where my PhD program was in Illinois, which is not an MSI, an HSI, or any of those other
Is that a
designations.
PWI?
Yeah.
Which stands for predominantly white institution.
Yeah,
for folks
it's
who not
predominantly
know.
white institution. You know, a lot of middle class kids from the suburbs of Chicago and stuff, which is fine.
R1.
It's an R1 research university, a lot of resources for students and faculty, and a lot of great students that were on top of it. A lot of, you know, always there's also not so great students. But I knew that this is one of the only urban campuses that has this type of student body.
Yeah.
Right? That it's so diverse. It's the number one, according to U.S. News and World, in terms of ethnic student diversity.
Oh, interesting. And that just
we were
came
number
out.
2. Yeah, we were number 2 for the past couple of years, and then we just rose up to like a 3-way tie, I think, for number 1.
What school did you beat?
Cal State LA is pretty.
I think Rutgers is the one of the other ones that's tied with us for number 1, and then I'm not sure about the third one. But it's a very unique campus in that it's an urban university with this kind of student population, and that was really exciting to me. To be able to teach to a student body that's, you know, a lot of our students are first generation students of color, working part-time, you know, living at home kind of thing. So that was in many ways my own background as well.
Yeah, so you get to teach students who look like you at one point.
Yeah, who were, you know, as I was floundering, my mom didn't know what FAFSA was. She, you know, like a single mom, and like I was the first one in my family to go to college, and also the first U.S. citizen in my family. Oh my goodness. And so I recognize, you know, where some students are going to need help in certain areas versus other students might need help in, you know, different areas.
Do you find yourself in like a mentorship role with a lot of your students? Like, do they look to you towards that for that?
I think there are definitely some students that are drawn to faculty, like-minded faculty, right? I've had some students definitely kind of approach me in ways that it seemed like they were looking for mentors, right? I think, you know, the faculty changes on campus have been kind of slower to reflect the demographic changes of the city and the student body.
That's like all universities.
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of grad students that I'm working with currently. I've only been there for a few years, so I think it's going to take a little time for me to find students that are going to work with me academically.
Yeah.
Is there a graduate program there?
Yeah, there's a master's and PhD program.
Okay.
But definitely there are students that are like, you know, that come up to me and tell me, I didn't know we were going to be learning these things in a foreign relations class. And I'm really excited that you're teaching it the way you're teaching.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, so it's always affirming to hear that when you're kind of looking out in the sea of faces in a classroom and they're just kind of, you know, staring at you and you're staring at them and you have no idea if they're even listening to you. So
is that a new trend where like students, I mean, you two might know, like, is it a trend where like they just don't want to engage in class? Like they want to do the like one-on-one engagement with the faculty as opposed to like a group setting and having that conversation?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a difference in the level of class. Like for introductory courses, I feel like students are less willing to participate vocally in class. They tend to be larger, so there's maybe more. They're more embarrassed or intimidated. in the upper level classes, there's less hesitation, it seems.
And those are typically going to be smaller, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that
like
makes
15 to 30 students kind of thing. And then
15 to 30. Wow.
yeah, for upper level classes, that's about average. Yeah.
Holy crap. Oh, you're at LMU. Those classes are all small, right?
Yeah, they're pretty small.
Yeah, because at UCLA, like,
They're
that's
big
like-
lecture halls.
Yeah, like 300 students kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, like it's in ed. I know like the big classes are like 160, but then like the small classes, I think are like 45.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 45 is still a big class. Like that's not a small class.
45, if you're grading 45 like research papers and 45 finals.
And like one TA, even with one TA, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's an education, so like it's not like it's going to be Scantron test. That's all. That's all blue book and essays and things for someone to read. Look, Joe, that's what you're missing. Don't you want to read all those blue books?
No. That's like the worst part of academia is all those stupid blue books with the grade. And, yeah.
Outside of the university life, you being in Las Vegas, are you involved in other kind of like local politics or local things involving people of color or API community or Philams at all?
I've been trying to get in touch with some of the API organizations out here. I haven't done as much as I would like to have done because I just had a baby about a year and a half ago and having another one, obviously.
Congrats.
Congrats.
So I haven't had as much time. But yeah, there's a couple organizations that I've been talking to some people from. There's one that seems like it's kind of API business and community leaders. And through some of the through the main union in Las Vegas, I'm hoping to connect with some of the organizers there that know a lot of the community members and stuff. So, yeah.
We'll have to do like an email intro to Tessa and
Right.
Tita Rozita and Tita Gloria.
Yeah, I would love to meet them and talk to them more.
Yeah, they're like badass titas.
Yeah, if I would love to in my Asian American Studies class, one of my assignments is for students to interview someone that immigrated to the United States. And hopefully that person is Asian American. Although I kind of leave that open and,
To interpretation.
to like anyone that immigrated. But a lot of them, since it's an Asian American Studies class, interview people that are Asian or Asian American.
Yeah.
But if there was like specific populations that they would see as like, this would be a great population to have oral histories from.
Yeah.
Right? Like that would be great. I could direct my students to those sorts of resources and communities.
Oh, Tita Rozita would
Yeah.
know that for sure.
Is there anybody doing research on the Filipino American community here in Vegas?
So Joe is trying to give you work. Sorry.
I think there are efforts to gather oral histories. I know Constancio Arnaldo just got hired at UNLV, so I won't be the only one in the humanities anymore.
Nice.
And he does research on Filipino American sporting culture. And so he interviews people who come into town to watch things like Manny Pacquiao.
For you, Joe.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
So I'm not sure how much of his future research is going to be kind of centered around Vegas populations. But I get the sense that it's an important population for his current and ideas of future work also.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to Constancio.
Yeah. And he also is doing similar things in terms of trying to create an archive of Asian American experiences in Vegas in terms of having students do these kind of interview projects to archive those stories in our library.
He could have that one book, like that Filipinos in Las Vegas book.
The picture book?
The picture book.
Images of America?
Yeah. He could do one. Ferrante Ibanez has like 3 of them. Filipino Americans in Carson. Filipino Americans in Los Angeles.
He's only one.
He only has one?
Yeah, there was other people who did the LA one and the Stark Filipino.
Whoops, never mind.
Yeah, and the Hollywood one.
Mike has pictures in those, but yes.
Yeah.
I do.
Don't you?
Maybe.
They had the Ventura County one, right?
Total site.
So, last question is, what are you working on in terms of your research?
Yeah.
And I know, you did. Are you going to be publishing a book? And how's that going?
Yeah. So, I'm currently talking to book publishers about my project. And hopefully, if all goes well, it is going to be going out to review within the next couple weeks to other people, to other academics who will have hopefully good comments and criticisms for the manuscript. So my work is about the U.S. colonial Philippines from the turn of the century, 1898 to 46. And specifically, I look at interracial relationships between Americans and Filipinos, from the social to the sexual. So I look at sexual economy, marriages, cohabitation, mestizo children, things like, domestic servants in homes and things like that. So, hopefully within the next 2 years, you'll see that on bookshelves. And
I know you're still kind of in the middle of that project, but do you have a future project, a research project you would like to work on?
Future research project. I was thinking of something that was more. Some of the things that I've been kind of tossing around in my head were kind of ideas that were broadly empire, like inter-empire related. And it came to me when I was in the Philippines doing research, and I was just coming across so many sites that reflect the imperial kind of histories of the places I was going to, like the golf courses in Makati that were originally built
Manila
for
Polo Club or something.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Or like the Baguio Country Club that was originally built as this U.S. retreat. So people wouldn't have to be in the heat, the sweltering heat of Manila. They could be in the mountains in Baguio.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that was largely built by Americans.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm interested in other sites like that in other imperial locations, like British hill stations, and how they've been converted into hotel restaurants and things like that.
Mike,
how
didn't you go to
local populations use them.
the Eagle's Nest in Austria? Like the U.S. took it over, and it's now.
Oh, you mean like Hitler's winter
Hitler's
retreat?
winter retreat?
It's like Berchtesgaden or something like that?
Yeah, it's now like a Navy base, right? It's like a
Navy
Lodge hotel. Like Mike stayed at
Shout
one
out
of
to
those.
military families.
That's that's fascinating to me. Yeah.
So imperial kind of luxury sites in the Philippines.
Yeah, or not even, they don't even have to be luxury sites, but those do tend to be the ones that kind of remain, right? As like independence happens and local populations then who have been segregated from from using those spaces, right? Claim ownership of those spaces, but largely as elite members of the community that are now leading the nation.
That's what gets to.
Right.
That's
So
who
what
like-
gets to use those spaces.
Yeah.
Like Malacanang Palace, for example, was originally the house for the Governor General of the Philippines from Spain.
Really?
Yeah.
And then it became the presidential palace.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those things stand, but like the coffee shop of the commissary does not stand. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something. Like what else would?
Yeah. Well, so like in Manila, there's this area that if you read a lot of the colonial kind of memoirs and American accounts, a lot of Americans at the turn of the century were living and residing in this area called Escolta. It's like a street in Manila. And now it's largely kind of just dilapidated, and there's not a lot that's there now. Although there are efforts to kind of rejuvenate the area. There's a lot of
Like make it a historical site or something?
yeah, there are historical tours. There are kind of art galleries that are popping up around Escolta. But places like the golf courses, the hill stations, the country clubs, the Navy Club, the Polo Club, right?
Like other
a lot of
clubs.
those things. And I think it's because they're so fraught with this history of, Filipino exclusion from them for so long, right? And how people tried to negotiate belonging to those.
Yeah.
They become like desirable sites
Yeah.
for the population, and then once they do have access to them, right, it becomes
Yeah.
a
They
sign
get to
of
make
like
it their club.
or elites get to
Elites,
use it
yeah.
and kind of use that power for their own.
Yeah. So it was something I was thinking about as maybe a potential future project.
Cool. That sounds really interesting. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you very much for being here and for doing this interview with us. And I can't wait to release it and share it with folks. And hopefully they'll learn a little piece about Las Vegas that has nothing to do with the stereotype about this.
Go Running Rebels.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm glad you know these things.
Running Rebels. UNLV, Larry Johnson, Jerry Tarkanian.
I just know those
I'm
people.
dating myself, but that was the that was the 1990 national NCAA national basketball champions.
All right. And with that, we'll end this episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks, Tessa.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for inviting me.
This Filipino American Life is produced by Michael Nailat. Our intro and outro music is by Roger Habon, aka 10.4 Raj. Resident reality checker Girly Colado, legal advisor Rianne Fajardo, and graphic design by Vincent Collyer.